Welcome back to our Fantasy Minecraft tutorial. In honor of Halloween and October, we're doing a Revenant and Necromancer edition here, complete with a spooky little base. So this is a class with this class combination of the Revenant and Necromancer, which is a very unique class. It can be somewhat difficult, but it's, I think, a very fun class, a very unique class, and being able to play with summons, especially during this time of year, if you're, a fan of Halloween like I am, having a nice spooky base or class is going to be a fun thing to do. So thanks for joining me. I hope you guys enjoy the video, and please, if you have any comments or feedback for me on how to make these videos better, leave them in the comments below. I'm doing these in hopes that they help people, so whatever can make them more helpful, something else you want to see, just let me know. So before we get into the down and dirty of the Necromancer and the Revenant, let's just talk a little bit about the fact that there was a update to this mod pack since I've made the last videos before this. So you may have previously heard me talk about how I'm not really sure, what the different damages are or how much something can affect something. As I've said, I'm not a theory crafter, still not. However, if you go into your character screen now, you can click this little button and it will show you all your stats. So this is super helpful, especially when you're choosing equipment. You can compare your before and after stats to tell you, hey, is this doing what I want it to do? Is it affecting the stats that I'm looking to help out? And is it giving me the most return compared to the equipment that I'm replacing? So I think that is an absolutely awesome thing that they added. Very helpful. It really allowed me to select the equipment I want with, a little bit more purpose now. In addition to that, one of the other things is they changed the mod which searches for your items for you. It's called EMI now instead of REI. Overall, it does basically the same thing. It's slightly different. I find this one to be a little bit more useful, a little bit more functional, but they did change the UI a little bit. If you are looking to see what can be crafted, you can open the entire book. If you just want to see things you can craft based on what's in your inventory, you can click it again, and you can switch back and forth between those two, but it is still searchable. So you can still search by, whatever stat it is that you want to boost, and still get a nice searchable, list of items. So first thing we got to do is go about our origin, and we can talk about what the Necromancer origin looks like. I'm sorry, the Revenant Origin, what that looks like. Revenant Origin, Necromancer Class. So the Revenant I chose because it pairs, I think, very well with the Necromancer. It gives you summons. You're friendly with illagers, but then you have some repercussions as well. So you can summon creatures, kind of act as pets, They do follow you, teleport, kind of similar to as if you're trying to use wolves. Slightly more useful because you can resummon them. So if you accidentally kill one of them, you can resummon. You can equip skeletons with any weapons, which is kind of interesting. And the strength of them scales with your soul or blood power. And then that gives you little different recipes on how to summon the different skeletons and the different things. You can summon a zombie horse or a wither skeleton, a skeleton horse. So it gives you a whole lot of versatility. You can also consume typically monster heads or rotten flesh or bones to charge up your next spell. And with your G ability or whatever you have it bound to, you can create a circle of almost like a bone shield if you play Diablo at all, but it's like a circle of skeletons to prevent you from danger if you're getting overwhelmed. You do slowly build up essence by draining life force. This allows you to siphon life from all your enemies, and it also scales with your soul or blood spell power. You are immune to wither, and like the undead, you do take extra damage from smite, and you receive damage from healing potions as well. But you're also immune to poison, also regeneration. Here's the biggest downfall of this class, if you ask me. Villagers will not trade with you, and iron golems will attack you. So be careful if you go into villages. Still useful to go into them to loot, but they won't trade with you. However, you are not immediately attacked by the pillagers, which is kind of nice because then you can choose if you choose to attack pillagers if you want experience from them or items, but you don't have to. And finally, you cannot harvest any crops. Not a huge deal if you ask me. I have no problem finding food in the world, raiding villages, things like that. You also can't sleep, so early on in the game you might encounter phantoms as a problem. If you want to go caving at night, maybe that's your best way to do it. And you do take more damage from just general mobs. I don't really notice that much extra damage from them. It's one of those things where they do supposedly give you more damage, but I haven't really noticed any extra damage, at least to a meaningful way. Not like the Crusader where you died super quick early on. So that's kind of the Revenant in a nutshell. So let's talk a little bit about the Necromancer and why they pair so well. So in your skill tree, you can go a lot of different ways, but the Necromancer is up here in the magic path. So more than likely you're going to find yourself taking a lot of the magical abilities. You can use the little junctions to skip around to the other side if you prefer. You could possibly go down here, take some of these things, and go more physical, junction up, and hit the Necromancer. I went a little bit more spell-based, but I did pick up some of the Spellblade, types of traits, so I can be combat efficient as well. But let's talk about the Necromancer, as this is what we're here for. So they specialize in Frost and Soul spell power, and are capable of dealing damage through their minions. So right off the bat, you start here, and this is something just to keep in mind for your items. For every 1 Frost spell power, you also gain a stack of Soul Shock, which grants you 1 Soul and Lightning spell power per stack. So your Frost spell power converts to Soul spell power, which tends to be super useful, as there's, I think, better Frost items than there are Soul items. And so you can use that Frost to enhance your Souls. So real quick, we'll touch on this, but then talk about them more in depth later. You can either choose between Summon Wraiths, or your initial summon is actually a Dread Glare. And these 2 summon abilities scale with your Soul spell power, and also they also inherit some of your max health. These are decently powerful, You know, you have a couple choices when you go through them, but they are decently powerful. So at pretty much max level, I summon my wraiths. It summons 4 at a time, and they take care of most, you know, trash enemies in the area.
Alright, so let's talk about some of the equipment and spells that you might use as a Necromancer / Revenant. So you do have, I feel like, a lot of options, but I think the best thing to go for is going to be Frost, and I'll talk about a little bit why based on your skill tree. So the Frost spells specifically, you have this Winterborn ability, and you gain a stack of Soul Shock for every 1 Frost spell power you have. So your Soul Shock grants you 1 soul in lightning power per stack. So every Frost power you have increases your soul power. So your soul power is what improves your minions. Your minions scale with your soul spell power. So by boosting your Frost and using Frost style spells and going for Frost spell power, you both make your spells more powerful and your minions more powerful. Oh. That wasn't very nice of those guys. So keeping that in mind, I'm going to go over some Frost style items. So as usual, what I do is just go into EMI and search for Frost Power, and it will kind of bring up everything that could possibly give you Frost Power. And you can poke around that. What I've chosen to go with is the Noble Knight set. It's not terribly hard to craft. It has decent stats. Not a ton of armor compared to, you know, somewhat like a diamond chest piece or something like that. But enough that it does seem to keep me alive. Or I'm sorry, it does have comparable armor. So, but it's a decent set. But it does have increase to frost spell power and some other bonuses like spell critical chance. You could go for the Rune Frost chestplate if you want more absorption hearts. I would like to at some point try this out, this Frigid Herald helmet, but I have not yet encountered any of the little Magister guys that make these things, and for some reason they normally seem to show up just based on casting spells, but they have not. I don't know if that's a bug in this new patch or whatnot. So yeah, just, you know, that's my basic set, and then you have a bunch of options for weapons, rune blades, which is kind of what I went with. Just made a rune blade. It gives you the 1 frost spell power. But the reason I'm using the rune blade is because I can hold this frost shard in my offhand, which increases my frost spell power by 50% and adds to soul spell power. And if you ever aren't sure what you want to use, you now can go in here and check out what your total power is. So if I go to frost, it's 18. It shows you everywhere you're getting additions from. And then my soul spell power. Did I miss that? Here we go. Soul spell power is 31. So you can see 19 of that is coming from that soul shock. So it really, the frost is really boosting my soul spell power by quite a lot. So that being said, we can talk about some of the abilities that you might use if you're going to go with the frost route. There's a bunch of different spell books. Just kind of touch on some of the spells you could use if you choose to go the frost option. There's a lot of options there. You could use the frost mage kind of spells, which are these. You could use the frost techniques, which are like for the spell blade. And then there's Tome of Eternal Winter, which is kind of like the Death Knight, you know, Lich King kind of spell book. I end up using Tome of Eternal Winter just because I use the Remorseless Winter, which surrounds you with like that blizzard kind of effect for AoE. But I think Frost Techniques is probably a good one to use as well. It's got AoE. It has, you know, a Riptide kind of effect. I actually probably should start using this one. I just kind of went for that whole Death Knight kind of RP. And then you could also use the Tome of Frost, which has more spell base like Frost Bolts and Frost Novas and Blizzard and things like that. I haven't even maxed this one out yet, although it easily could. But it's really kind of, whichever one you want to have fun with. You also don't have to go Frost. You could go whatever you want to do. I just suggest Frost because you can use Frost to synergize with your soul spell damage. So in addition to your spellbook abilities, you might go through your talents and get some various things. I just kind of simply went for the same things I would go for like a mage and have the stacks of attunement to increase my spell damage and then also increase my critical chance per stack. And then I went for this lightning rod, which during storms I gain lightning attunement, it increases my lightning damage. But really the reason I went for this is because while I'm under the effects of soul shock, I periodically discharge electrical energy, damaging and inflicting nearby enemies with weakness. So it periodically ticks off. It seems pretty useful. Sometimes you'll just be in an area and enemies will die, so pretty helpful. So as far as our class abilities, like we went with Necromancer, and there's a bunch of stuff in here, but really you're boosting your minions. So you have this Summon Ritual ability, and then you can go two paths with it. You can go Dread Glares, or you can go Wraiths. I went Wraiths. I like the fact that they can inflict Wither. They're pretty decent ranged, and you'll see you can kind of just walk through an area and they kill everything for you, almost like a Diablo 2 Necromancer. You can just let them do what they do, but then you can also attack as well. So it's a pretty capable class. So you just fill this out. Just be careful. Some of these things inflict you, like this one can inflict you with harmful effects, which you can use various abilities to move harmful effects around between you, your minions, and other enemies. I just didn't feel like dealing with it. I haven't done the Shadow War just because it drains their health, but probably not a huge deal. We'll go for it. Alright, so now that you know a little bit about the equipment and abilities, let's go, test this out in action. We have this nice pillager castle behind us, so we'll head over there. Now, one thing to note with these rune blades is they come with this obliterate ability as it's the right click ability. So it's just like a more powerful strike. I'm not exactly sure what it fully does, but you can use it periodically. But the main reason, here's a guy, we can kill him with, that was the obliterate. That was just a normal attack, so you get a decent amount of attack power out of these guys. So that was that soul shock ability. I didn't have to do anything for that. It just kind of automatically ticks off and hurts people in the area. So this Death Chill Tome has, well, that guy died way too quick. So it has this Frost Aura kind of ability. It's like a Blizzard AoE. Unfortunately, my Soul Shock ability seems to kill everybody too quickly. So we'll use this. Here's this Blizzard ability. It's like an AoE. It kills them, pushes them back. So with a Necromancer, you can spawn some of your own minions, or with the Revenant. They're pretty useful in situations like this, where you have enemies you want to kill. They're not super useful for following you around. They do tend to get stuck on a lot of different things. But unlike your Necromancer class minions, these do not seem to scale. So if you'll notice that they do scale with the area level, they don't scale with my power. You can, however, give the skeletons different weapons. You can just go up and kind of right-click on them. But they're good for placing blocks or early on when you yourself aren't very powerful. They definitely can be nice helpers. They just don't expect them to follow you too well. They don't pathfind very well. And you can make skeletons or zombies. You can also make wither skeletons if you have wither skulls and other things. You can read your little class abilities and find out more. So you see if you have wide open spaces, they do pretty well. But like this guy is just not attacking anything. He just pathfinds over to me. Until this guy hits me, sometimes they don't view them as enemies. So they're a little bit glitchy, but they're fun to play around with. So one thing that's unfortunate is your Revenant Class minions will fight with your Necromancer Origin, or your Revenant Origin minions will fight with your Necromancer Class minions. So the Revenant ones will attack the Necromancer ones, but they won't attack back. So just keep that in mind if you're using both of them. Again, once I got the Wraiths, I almost never use the Revenant ones. Those are much more early game. So those pillagers were just dying way too quick to effectively demonstrate any of the minions or abilities, but I do believe we have an old champion that I had located already over here, so let's go give him a shot. One thing, the amount of damage, and you'll see that the Wraiths do, I'm imagining that this old champion is going to be pretty easy. I don't know about the little spectre he summons afterwards, but this guy should be in here somewhere, right? So we'll check out what the Wraiths do to him. So here he is. Watch his health with the Wraiths. So they do a pretty decent job. I'll help them out. So then, incoming Frenzied Shade. I hate these things because I can never see them. I'm guessing he escaped at the top. I would imagine the Frenzied Shade got away, but maybe he's dead. Can always go down here and check. So old champion is good. That one, I did not get credit for a Frenzied Shade, so he has to be around here somewhere. Yeah, well, I've about had it with this. I don't know why I can never find this Frenzied Shade once he spawns. Maybe I'll make a video where I work out correctly here. Probably not. Let's go do a different boss instead. So I'll try to get some of these guys with some of the sword abilities before I summon minions, just so we can demo those, since I'm having a hard time getting to be able to kill guys before my minions do. So here's your basic obliterate. And then the blizzard ability. And I just threw my sword, that was dumb. There's like a cone ability. So nothing super useful here, it's just this blizzard ability, and the cone ability can be somewhat useful. But like I'm sitting here spending all this time fighting these guys, I can literally just summon my wraiths and they'll take care of it all for me. Well, the other thing you do have is kind of class ability, or origin ability, where you can summon these very loud skeletons in a wall around you. I've never once used it in any kind of useful capacity, but if it's something you want to check out, feel free. Alright, so coming home now from our excursion, put some stuff away, and we'll head into the Nether to face whatever that boss is in there. So I did already take the time to carve a pathway out to this guy, so we should just have to run right over to him and whack him a couple times. Full send. I'm not sure if those guys make scarier noises in modded or in vanilla. They remind me of cacodemons in Doom almost, with their floating around disembodied heads shooting balls at you. Here we go, Decaying King. That's who we're gonna kill. So I should have brought some bones and rotten flesh just to see how they fare against him, but I forgot to, so we'll just use our wraiths. Oh god. Falling in the lava. So I did, relatively little there. The wraiths did a lot of that. This is holding on for dear life. To me, the biggest downfall of this class is not being able to interact with villagers. Means it's nearly impossible to get mending for all your items. There may be a better way to get mending in this mod pack that I'm not aware of, but for me it's always just been trading with villagers. Alright, let's mess this town up. So, I did not know that was going to consume that altar. Oh. Alright, well, it looks like I can resummon these bosses. I just need to craft that same altar every time. Well, let's try this Essence of Eventide guy. Oh wow. Still no match for the race. Oh, he's got a second phase. Still no match for the race. Oh, he's got a second phase. Wow. I mean, that wasn't that bad.
Okay, well that probably wraps this up. Thank you for watching the video. I appreciate any comments or feedback that you guys might have on how I could make these better. I think the next one up will be the Berserker, and then we'll be halfway through the classes that this mod has to offer. And hopefully after that, maybe do some more advanced stuff with some of the classes. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time. Isn't that cool?
What song is this? But at first it was Star Wars.
Yeah, I turned Star Wars on first.
What else songs can you make?
There's all kinds of songs. There's the Cantina Band from Star Trek, I mean Star Wars.
How can you play those songs in Minecraft?
I don't even know, buddy. It's crazy. They got songs you wouldn't even know.